vote. Okay, some of y'all, I know there's some folks, by principle, they don't believe in voting. I cast my first ballot when I was 6 years old. My mama, she walked me down the street to the little Filipino lady who, in our neighborhood, it was interesting. People have food at the post. And my mother would say, I'll eat her food, but I don't eat their food. So I'll eat something that was some cream cheese and that's fun. We don't eat that. But we go down, get a couple pieces of lumpia, stand in line and wait to vote. She held my little self up and said, pull the lever. You pull the lever. That's the purpose. I am passionately committed to voting. And I will not argue with you that the system is skewed. I won't disagree with you about that. But it gets more skewed when we refuse to participate. This man is going state by state, changing laws, and many of us are allowing that. I don't vote. It's a matter of principle. Get your principle self about my best. I bring that up. So basically, those are the basic rules. But here's some of the other rules we have to look at in terms of public policy. Every time somebody suggests something, here's the question you have to ask. What does this do to the welfare? Does it narrow it or does it widen it? The SAVE Act narrows widens it. SAVE Act that messed up that damn house. On the other hand, that housing legislation narrowed the welfare. And guess what? Of course, he wouldn't sign it. And it took 4 or 5 Republicans to stand up and do the right thing. Because guess what? People forget Republicans not only have black constituents, they have poor constituents. We point that out. That housing legislation is really important, giving people access to housing. But you saw almost total silence. And then other legislation like so Cam talked about all our money and our economic power, and we do have economic power. But economic power without political power is a huge vulnerability. And so they can write it out. They can take it out another way. Cam talked about Maggie Walker. I've done causal work on her, maybe I book on her one day. She was an amazing black woman. Amazing. Who started Penny Savings Bank and basically built it. She had a brilliant idea. There were 3 small black banks in Richmond, Virginia. The Depression was coming. People said these banks could not survive. Maggie Lena was able to negotiate those crazy black men's egos. With all due respect, which I don't know how you are. She was able to negotiate those egos where everybody had a bank, owned a bank. They still want to be the head of the bank. They don't want to be number 2 or number 3. But she figured it out. So it became consolidated bank. So basically Penny Savings became consolidated bank, which was a consolidation of 3 banks. It survived. It survived into the 1970s actually. And they have survived longer, but for chicanery. That's the best way. Some of our people get a little power and a signature. And the banks, they collapsed in the 1970s. So, actually, in its original formation, it lasted almost 100 years. That's an amazing accomplishment, led by a black woman who essentially did not play. One of the other bankers was one of her competitors, and they had been friends and blah, 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 blah. He was a showboat, and she had to counsel him to slow down. Dude, he had one of the few cars in which he had ride down the street with a fur coat on in the summer, and top down in the summer. And of course, white people hated it. Those of you heard me last year talk about economic enemy. So basically, extreme expressions of our wealth make white people angry. Other than being a hoe and a fool, that's why Diddy is in jail. I mean, it's not just that, it's that he was flamboyant about this stuff. White folks can't stand that. They'd rather you take a back seat. But in any case, back to contemporary public policy. What we have to say about the midterm elections, this is not entertainment. CNN, they treat it like entertainment. Ram Platinum, they have the because he was a hoe. Notice to my brothers, corridor will not get you elected. Simply will not. So try to resist, or I don't. But in any case, these midterm elections are being treated like entertainment. And this spit is not funny. These are our lives. These are our children's lives. One of the things that's most galling is the erasure, the attempt to erase Black history. And we see it literally daily. Laws being passed about what can be studied and what cannot be studied. So this is why we have to be in the classroom, in the courtroom. This is why we have to fight back tenaciously. And this is why we cannot depend on mainstream education structures to educate our children. We need to do some of that ourselves. If we are waiting for, who said that? What was it? Somebody said, anybody who trusts their child's education to a white person is a fool. And might not have said that bluntly, but I think they did. Because you send your child to school and they'll teach them anything except for what you want them to know. So again, we have to be, I hope that people are basically looking at this election, a 100-year plan, and ensure that everybody votes. Ensure that, what we're doing when we're voting legislatures is we're voting on who gets to write the laws. And so that's not trivial. You see things pop up. Now, we're playing the long game, we're not playing the short game. So in the long game, we show up. We keep showing up. We're not always going to get our way. In fact, sometimes we won't get our way at all. But we will make sure that we're there, we're saying stuff. The other thing I want to share with you guys in terms of contemporary public policy, please write letters to the editor. Now, they're going to print probably 1 out of 10. But if 20 of you write a similar letter, not the same one, a similar letter, one at least of them will see print. That's how you get your ideas in the public square if you're not on TV or on the radio. But look into community radio as well. Community radio is very important. And I don't know, anybody here know about the Pacifica Network?
Yes. Pacifica Network.
PFW, KPFA,
BAI.
KPFK, KPFT. All right, I'm telling y'all this, and I'm not breaking any rules, but if one of y'all is part of those side, you probably run tell that. Run tell that. I am a listener. I am running for the chair of the Pacifica Board. Yeah. Elections will start August 15th. Yeah, somebody go run tell on me, but I already checked. I can say this anywhere I want to, and I don't do specific research. So I am running for chair. I'm running for chair because I believe that more people need access to more airways.
Amen.
And what Pacific has been doing is been shutting people down. So all the Black and brown people at KPFT, Texas, have gotten lost in shows. All of them.
How do we support you running? How do we support that?
You have to please make a donation to your station, your local station.
Okay.
That's all you need to do.
And make donations to your local station. And I think Felicia said she's gonna send everything out to everybody.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you all some instructions about how it can be helpful. Because again, we need more access to airways. They go try to take my show, but they told me, somebody told me, they said they go take your show, they gonna wait till the last minute. I said, they don't understand revolution. We turn that thing out. Doing that for ages. But anyway, there's so many things that are affecting us, and there's so much information that we do not have. So we have to do our work to make sure that we're, I think this is supposed to keep on time. Okay, I got 1 minute or 2 minutes or 1 minute because I really do not want to disappoint. It's not a good thing. My sister is in my house by herself. I get back and half my clothes. She can't fit it. short-term prize as well. This election is going to be a pivotal election. Sometimes some young people say, y'all say that every election, and we do, every election is important. But here we're looking at now the possibility of Dems, and the Dems are not perfect. The possibility of Dems taking back the Senate or the House. It just puts a roadblock on that man. So it's our duty. It's our duty to struggle, and it's our duty to win. The only way we win is with full participation. So I just want to ask people to please participate. Please be aware. Please know the numbers, follow the dollars, and use your vote. Thank you.
Give it up for Dr. Julianne Malveaux. Listen, she's been one of our lions for decades, and she's not slowing down. So, listen, I can say it, I'm not running. I almost never vote in the elections for WBAI. I almost never vote. I'm so glad I heard that, because now I'm gonna go vote. If you are involved or listen to your local Pacifica station, you had better be involved, because there's been some shenanigans going on there for a long time.